Portland, O.T., June 1856. Dear Sir, I have the honor to acknowledge the receipt of your very polite invitation to address a number of my brother officers and other gentlemen on the coming glorious anniversary at Vancouver. In the words of a celebrated Roman emperor, when asked to take a drink, I replied, I will do it with great pleasure, and shall immediately prepare myself for the discharge of the agreeable duty thus devolving upon me. Your invitation, sir, arrived upon a most opportune occasion. 80 years, or thereabouts, ago, this day, our respected ancestors marched up the side of Breed's Hill by a flank to the following spirited, stirring tune. Oh, Tweedledum Dee! Oh, Tweedledum Twee! Oh, Tweedledum Twee! And after getting there, feeling sick at their stomachs from fatigue, threw up a line of breastworks and trenches that took the British very particularly by surprise. Behind those breastworks, sir, our gallant ancestors stood shoulder to shoulder and received the red-coated minions of the British monarch with a galling and destructive fire that caused them to retreat in confusion. 3 successive times was the attack repeated, and 3 successive times were the British mercenaries repulsed. At the fourth attempt, sir, our ancestors suddenly remembered certain business engagements in the country, which they planted corn and built houses. They killed the Indians, hung the Quakers and Baptists, burned the witches alive, and were very happy and comfortable indeed. So matters went on very happily. The colonies, thus formed, owing allegiance to the government of Great Britain, until the latter part of the 18th century, when a slight change took place in their arrangements. The King of Great Britain, a Dutchman of the name of George Gelf number 3, having arrived at that stage of life when Dutchmen generally, if at all, incline that way, naturally began to give way to ill temper and obstinacy, became of a sudden exceedingly overbearing and ill-disposed toward the colonies. He had offenders sent to England to be tried. He was down on a bank and a protective tariff, and began to be considered little better than an abolitionist. He also put in effect an ordinance called the Stamp Act, which prevented applause in places of public amusement, prevented the protection of cattle against flies, and interfered with the manufacture of butter. And he finally capped the climax of his audacious imposition by placing such a tremendous duty on tea that our female ancestors could not afford to drink that exhilarating beverage. Our ancestors were patient and long-suffering, but they could not stand everything. Sojong and young Hyson cost about 12.5 cents a cup, and our great-grandmothers were weeping with vexation, and would not be comforted with herb teas and decoctions of sassafras. They annoyed our grandfathers to that extent that they rebelled, got up a vigilance committee in Boston, and destroyed 2 cargoes of English tea, and were fired on by the British troops in consequence. Then the whole country flew to arms. The battles of Concord and of Lexington followed, and our grandfathers went marching up to the tune of Yankee Doodle to the top of Bunker's Hill, whence they did not march down until they had given the British troops a most fearful and ever to be remembered whipping. By this time it suddenly occurred to some of the smartest people of our respectable ancestors that it was a good long way to the little island of England, that there was a good many people in the provinces, and that perhaps they were quite as able to govern themselves as George Galt number 3 was to govern them. They accordingly appointed delegates from the various provinces or states, who, meeting together in Philadelphia on the 4th day of July, 1776, decided to trouble the King of England no longer, and gave to the world that glorious Declaration of Independence, to the support of which they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. This was the birthday of freedom, the birthday of the United States, now 80 years of age. And as there are few of us but feel some inclination to celebrate our own birthday, there can be little wonder that we celebrate the birthday of our country in so joyous, earnest, and enthusiastic a manner. Love of country is strongly impressed on every mind, but as Americans, we should, and in fact, do have this feeling more strongly developed than any other citizen of the world. For our country is a free country. Its institutions are wise and liberal, and our advantages as its natives are greater than those of other citizens. To be sure, everybody can vote 2 or 3 times in some places. It is true taxes are 4.5% on the amount of our property. It's a fact that it's difficult to get scrip paid. There's no disputing the existence of the Maine liquor law, and we do occasionally have a mob. But these are errors not arising from the principles of our government, but from circumstances, and they will finally obviate and correct themselves. Upon the whole, I believe that a man has quite as much chance for a life of happiness if born under the glorious stars and stripes as if he happened to be born anywhere else, and perhaps a little more. We elect our own rulers and make our own laws, and if they don't turn out well, it's very easy at the next election to make others take their place. Everybody has a chance for distinction in this country. Nothing is wanting but natural ability to attain it. And Mrs. Laving Pike's baby, now lying with a cotton flannel shirt on and a champagne basket in Portland, Oregon Territory, has just as good a chance of being President of the United States as the imperial infant of France, now sucking his royal thumbs in his silver cradle at Paris, has of being an emperor. I do not wish to flatter this audience. I do not intend to be thought particularly complimentary, but I do assure you that there is not a man present who, if he had votes enough, might not be elected President of the United States. And this important fact is the result not so much of any particular merit or virtue on your part, as of the nature of our glorious, liberal, Republican institution. In this great and desirable country, any man may become rich, provided he will make money. And man may be well educated if he will read and learn and has money to pay for his board and schooling. And any man may become great and of weight in the community if he will take care of his health and eat sufficiently of boiled salmon and potatoes. Moreover, I assert it unblushingly, any man in this country may marry any woman he pleases. The only difficulty being for him to find any woman that he does please. Fellow citizens and brother soldiers, it is the 4th of July. It is Independence Day, a day dear to every free man, an anniversary which is good to celebrate.